Oh, hi there, I'm Sebastian Handy, I'm back again, and this is my kitchen. This is a video on how to make a kitchen concrete worktop, and so I'm just putting in a new kitchen here, and I'm just ripping stuff out, and so yeah, let's see how it goes. Hi there, I'm Sebastian, I'm back again. I've done my video before on the closed storage unit in the table. I'm going to put in a concrete work surface in this kitchen. So it's an L-shaped kitchen, so there's a sink on the floor that I'm going to put in. So this is the L-shaped part of the kitchen, and it goes around the corner to here and into the room. And so if I go back into the room, you can see it here, there's the kitchen space. So I'm going to put a worktop along that wall and along the end wall. And the problem is that floor, no floor is totally horizontal, but that floor is slightly lower on that side than it is on the right hand side. And when doing the concrete work surface, you've got to remember it's very heavy, and you've got a problem of differential movement. I don't want to totally make you lose where to live right now, but there's going to be one side that's fixed to the wall that will not move, and another side that will rest on the floor, and the floor might have some spring in it. And so that's the thing to take into account. And if we see this wall here, I'm trying to do this whilst looking at the screen. Right, so I know the floor's slightly higher there than it is there. So all the units are about 86, 87 centimetres high. So I've got a mark here on the wall that's 88 centimetres high, so that I know a unit can go over there where the floor is the highest at this point. And then I've used a spirit level. I'm marking a line along there because I know that if it fits there, it will definitely fit over there in the other corner where the floor's a little bit lower. Okay, what I don't want to do is set out from that wall and then find that as the horizontal work surface goes along, it pinches and that we can't get the units into the wall. And so at the tightest point, I've put a mark on the wall that's 88 centimetres there, and then from there I've drawn a line with the spirit level along. And then just in case, I thought, oh, what if the spirit level's wrong? And so what I did was I put the mark on the wall with the spirit level like that, and then I flipped the spirit level around and did the same thing again. And that would give me two lines on the wall, and I know that the margin of error is in between those two lines. And so I kept doing that all the way to the end of the wall, and I found out that the slope of the floor is negligible. It's only about, it's not even a centimetre. But I did that. I keep flipping the spirit level around, so that way you know that even if the spirit level is broken, instead of giving you a true line, it will give you two different lines, but they're both equally wrong, and you can do the middle path that will give you the equidistant line that you know will be true, and it will tell you at least your margin of error. You'll see when you do it yourself. I'm making it sound more complex than it really is. But anyway, so I've got my line from there along to there, and that's my line for the underside. No, that is the line. That is the line where the top of the batten is going to go. So I've got to fix the top of the batten along that line, and that will give me the underside of the counter, because you've got to give yourself obviously enough space to fit the units in. You don't have to put the counter so low you can't fit the units in. And so don't just say, oh, it's 900, it's 3 foot. It's not. Okay, next video. Okay, so putting this batten there, they've got this batten here that I'll do. Okay, so I'm going to put this batten up on the wall here, but the problem is that this wall, you see, it's got finishes on, and I thought if I'm going to use a really big long screw here, the screw's got to go through the batten, then through the finish, and then how much of the wall is it actually going to be going on to? And so I thought to screw that batten to the wall with a screw that would really support it, because it's going to be holding up concrete, that will be, you'll need a very long screw. I've got a packet of screws that's even longer than this, about 130mm, which will probably do the biz. But instead, I think I'm going to use lots of brackets, so that way I can use something where I don't get the 50mm taken out of the screw that's just supporting the battens. And then, because with that, if I use that, then it's only like the last inch and a half of the screw that's actually in the brickwork supporting it, and the rest is cantilevering, which is a bit weak. So I'm going to use lots of brackets instead, which is a two-part solution, but it means that we don't need such big screws. Okay, you'll see in a minute what I mean. Cheers. Okay, hello, hi there. Right, so I've got the batten on the wall, and that's as per this diagram, which I'll post. Okay, wicked. That's important because it sets out everything that's going to happen afterwards. Okay, this is a diagram of how it's going to be. So this big thing here with the rectangle, that is the unit. I'll get this picture showing it separately later on. This here is the batten, that's the first thing that goes on. And you see the top of the batten has to be about ½ inch over the top of the unit. Now, that batten is on the wall, and I've now worked out a better way of doing it. I'm now going to fix that batten to that wall there, and then I can just put a spirit level on the whole batten just to get the other side fixed. Batten, and also because wood's always a bit curvy, so you can always just push it up and push it down when you put the thing on the screw it to the wall just to keep it level. Okay, just in case this wasn't clear before, this batten's important because it's going to set out everything else afterwards. And so I've fixed the batten at that end there, so now that's all on a hinge. I've put a spirit level on top, and I'm going to lift this up. I'm going to lift this up till, and I'm going to use a spirit level. I'm going to switch the spirit level around to make sure that I know that that's exactly horizontal. That's how I'm going to fix it against the wall. That's how you can do setting out, but it's important, this setting out, because everything else is going to come from it later on. Okay, so then I'm going to strike a line in that wall to get this horizontal. Okay, right, let's put it down and pause the video. Okay, because that batten was sagging in the middle, I've had to get this bit of wood and prop it and tap it to push the middle bit up until that spirit level is level. So I look at the bubble in that spirit level and I see it looks pretty good. But what if spirit level is broken? What if someone's dropped it on the floor and it's not totally accurate? Well, I take the spirit level, I turn it round, and if it gives me the same reading, I know the spirit level's okay. Okay, wicked. That's how we do it. Okay, I'm just doing the legs. I'm just doing the legs of the thing right now. I don't want the end grain to touch on the floor because we might be mopping the floor. So I'm going to get this bracket. I'm going to screw this bracket to the end. Because the bracket curves, I put a little washer there so that the curve doesn't make the bracket go skewy at the bottom. I found these ones that look quite nice. They've got this sort of slot thing that I think looks really nice. That'll be a nice little detail. And I've used Japan screw heads because obviously you can't have screw heads that are countersunk, and so that's going to look wicked later on. Okay, there is the concrete, and in there's the pigment. I'm going to pick up the puddler tomorrow to waterproof the concrete. There is the birch trace ply that I'm going to cut into the worktop. And here, you see in the kitchen, we've got 2 rails that I've run round, and eventually there's going to be a third one as well. But you see we've got the plugs on the wall, and under this rail we've got brackets holding it, like that. I've over-egged it on the brackets because this whole thing up here is going to be a big ensemble that's going to be taking the shelves and anything that goes on the shelves, so it's going to be taking a lot of weight, and so it's all going to be on that rail there. And you see I've got things like straps on the top of the rail, and I've got some more over here. These have got to be on the top, not on the side, because there's going to be a removable panel on the face of this that we can lift off if ever we want to add another plug or get behind the taps or anything like that. And so you see those rails go all the way round, and so this zone here is going to be a zone where any pipes go that we need to run any pipes, or if we need to run any more wires and stuff. Everything above and below is locked in forever, but anything in there, that's going to be removable so we can get out and get to it if we need to. Okay, right, and so I was really pissed off about Travis Perkins yesterday, and to get this birch face ply over here, I hate to use this ply because it's so gorgeous, it's absolutely lovely quality, and it cost me about £60 a sheet, and I could have got Brazilian ply that's thicker, 18mm, for like £20 cheaper per sheet. So getting that has cost me an extra 70 quid, and it's put the job back by a day, but I'm not going to buy Brazilian, and I was really pissed off with Travis Perkins yesterday. But they're a brilliant shop, but they should just give you the choice of, hey, you can have Brazilian or non-Brazilian. They used to sell spruce, they don't anymore, it's a shame, they should still sell spruce. Anyway, but I went in there today a bit sheepish, and they anyway, okay, right, see what happens tomorrow. Okay, well, the wall at the end here is pissed. It's slightly an angle, so I'm just cutting out this first bit of ply worktop, because concrete is more about woodwork than it is about concrete, and so I'm not going to even start the concrete till I'm totally sure that all the formwork is definitely right. Okay, so now that distance from there to there is different to that distance from there to there, because I've had to cut a fillet off at the end. The fillet at the end is, let's see, where is it? Where is it? It's an off-cut, and it's yeah, this one here. There it is. And so what I did was I offered up that bit of wood against the wall, like that. I pushed that bit of wood up against the wall, and obviously there was a triangular gap at the end. So I measured how long it was and used that measurement, because I knew I had to cut 120mm off that end. So I cut that long triangular sliver off. Right. So now I'm just looking at what I've designed, and I'm deciding whether or not to go from the end column right across, but that will leave quite a deep work surface there, or whether to have something parallel to that slanted wall, or whether to have something with a square corner, maybe with a chamfer on. So you design things to a certain extent with computer, but then when it's in situ, you take another look just in case you made a mistake. Now, I know that I'm going to have a 600 unit that's going to go up against that, and it's the top could bash against that. So the 600 unit is going to start there, and then, so I know this work surface is going to go along, and this is going to be into the concrete, but I'm going to have a little downstand at the end of the concrete, so I know I've got to cut the ply off about 4 centimetres before the concrete. Okay, that's because if I look at my design here, this is the concrete, and this is the bit of ply we've just been looking at. Now I've got to decide where that cut is. Once I've decided where that cut is, I roll it out right the way across the board, so it's going to run all the way around. So once I've made one cut, if I'm happy with that location, then it just gets rolled out and I don't have to think anymore about it. Okay. Okay, right, now regarding these legs, I've got a big pile of legs there. I'm going to need 10, so I've made them all ready. Now what I want to do is I want to cut them off, and now this bit of hardboard underneath, I'm going to cut that into little shims just to pack up the distance, if the leg is too short when it's underneath. And I'm going to cut all the legs off so they're the same length, they're all the same length. But I know that whilst the top of the work surface is horizontal, the floor is pissed because it's an old house. This house is 150 years old. And so what I've done is I've got that leg and I've offered it up there. And I've done a little notch, I've done a little mark on how high it needs to be. And then I've done the same thing over here in this corner. And then I've done the same thing right the way over here. And that tells me what part of the floor is highest and what part is lowest. Now what I'm going to do is, that's given me 3 different levels that I've marked on the wood here. So I'm going to cut all of the legs off so that they're that level, and where the work surface needs to be higher, I'm going to pack it out with shims, and where the work surface has to be lower, I'm going to just use this, and I won't need any shims at all. Okay, I'm just working out where the edge of the ply should be, because I've got the ply here and I'm just planning out how deep I'm going to have to cut it to support the work surface. Okay, so this is a diagram that I've done. Now that there is the wall with the double lines. Okay, so that's the wall. Then you see there I've drawn a batten on the wall, and that's our 50mm zone, is insulation under the batten. Then on the face of the batten I've drawn a bit of plasterboard. And then here I've got a unit, could be a cooker, fridge, freezer, whatever. Right? And then I want the work surface to have a little overhang in the front, just to mask to the edge. Okay, so what's this build up? If we start with 0 with the face of the wall, we've got 50mm insulation and batten. Then I'm allowing 15mm for plasterboard or whatever finish we put on the front of that to conceal it. I'm allowing a 600 zone for the unit, whatever unit, because we don't know what units we might have in the future. And then I'm allowing a 25 overhang. Right, so that's 50 plus 15 plus 60 plus 25. Right, and that will give us the dimension from the front of the concrete back to the wall. Okay, so we've added all that up, and that's 50 plus 15 plus 600 plus 25, and that gives us 690. So the front edge of that concrete is 690 from the wall, and I want that little downstand to be 40mm deep. And so 690 minus 40 equals 650. Okay, so the leading edge of that plywood has got to be 650 from the wall. So let's just check that in real life, see if that makes sense. Here I've drawn on a bit of ply. You see I've drawn some insulation. That insulation is 50mm. On top of that I've drawn a line of plasterboard. So 50mm insulation and batten plus 15mm of plasterboard. Then as we go along the wood, we go along. So front of unit, that's the front of the unit, and that is the face of the worktop. So I know from the front of the unit back to the face of the plasterboard I've allowed myself 600mm, or 2 foot, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so there's the front of the unit, there's the face of the worktop, and so I've drawn a line back from that, and that's the edge of the ply. So I've got to cut the ply to that edge. And if we measure from there, trying to do this one-handed, from there to there, the edge of the ply is about 650. Okay, so I'm gonna cut all of this ply in confidence, knowing that so long as it's 650 from the wall, that will be what I need. Okay, I'm fixing these battens onto the wall here. They're a bit wider than the others because they're going to have a rail, a shelving rail in the middle, plus each side has got to receive plasterboard, so it needs to be a bit wider. These aren't just plonked anywhere, they go in where the legs are going to go. And I've got this stick that I've made that's going to help me. So I put this stick against the wall, and it says wall, face of insulation, face of plasterboard. It shows here where the leg's going to be, where the edge of the ply is going to be, where the face of the unit's going to be, and where the face of the worktop's going to be. So I can go anywhere around, and I know the distance out that it's all going to come approximately. So I'm just using this as a check. So I've marked on these bits of walls where the legs are going to go, and there's going to be a leg at low level, and that's also where I'm going to get the fix in here. Depends how sort of anal you want to be about it, but the rail is going to line up with the legs, and I'll put all the legs 600 apart, even though lots of units are 550. I've put them 600 apart just so that we know if we use different units in the future they're going to fit. And so if I get the stick and I put it on the wall in the corner, I know where the face of the first unit is going to be. I know where the face of the first unit is going to be along that wall. And then from there I'm going to go another 600, and that's where there's going to be a leg. So above that I'm going to have another 2x4 up there. And then I'm going to go another 600 across, 600 for the oven. There's another leg. And so there's going to be another bit of 2x4 above that. And I'm going to go another 600 across. And then there's going to be another leg there. Bit of 2x4 above. And so that's how I'm setting it out. These posts that are... These posts are going to be taking the shelving, and they're going to be receiving the plasterboard either side. They're not just plonked anywhere. They're lining up with the legs, and I've set out the legs now. Okay, so now I'm starting to put the insulation in between these posts that I'm putting up. These posts are going to receive these rails. You see, this is a standard rail. That will go like in the middle there. That rail go in the middle, and it leaves enough of the wood exposed either side to put the plasterboard onto. Okay. Okay, I'm just now going to fix the feet into position. So you see where the feet are in position here, and so the bracket raises the bottom of the wood up because I don't want the end grain touching the floor where it could soak up water and deform, and that's what these brackets are about. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm going around and I'm cutting the protection away, and I'm going to do one for this one now to fix the bottom of the leg into position. Then I can forget about the bottom of the leg. Okay, the bottom of the leg I'm doing now, so that isn't screwed down. I'm now going to use the level to make it vertical front to back, and then put a bit of tape on the floor. Okay, so I'm using the spirit level here to make sure that this is front to back, and I've put that mark on the floor there, right underneath the front of that bracket. So when the front of the bracket is there, then the leg is vertical in that plane. Okay, now I've put another mark on the floor. I've used the spirit level on the other side of the leg to show exactly when that is there, then that means that the leg is vertical left to right and front to back. Okay, I've just taken the bracket off, and now I'm going to put 3 bits of electrical tape on the underside of that bracket, just so I don't want the metal pressing right up against the wood. Okay, and here you see I've put 3 lots of electrical tape on the underside of that bracket, so we don't have metal pushing right up against it. And I know that that bracket's going to go there for the leg to be vertical in both directions. Okay, so there's one little fixing there, just one of these little screws. I want to minimise the number of screws into the hole, so that's going in there. I don't need this bit of red tape anymore because I know I've got it in the right place. So, there we go. And so now I'm going to put the leg back. And so what I've got to do is I'm going to lift that leg there, going to put the washer in between so that the radius is still the same, doesn't mess things up at the bottom, and then fix the japanned screw back through it. So it's going to be screw through washer into wood. So it just looks like that. Okay, so the bottoms of the legs are all located, they're all fixed, right? So I'm happy with all them, they're all locked into position. Right, so if we look at this, we see that the back edge is fixed against the wall, that isn't going anywhere. Whereas these legs are all bearing onto the floor, which is a floating floor, and so there's a bit of flex in that floor. And what I don't want is for when I fix this worktop, for there to be differential movement between what's supporting the back and what's supporting the front. So what I'm now going to do is I'm now going to load up the worktop with heavy stuff like these bags of concrete, so I know I'm going to have the same weight on this now that's going to be on it when it's all got concrete poured on top of it. Once I've done that and I've put those bags of concrete on top, then underneath in here I'm going to put shims to make sure this is level. So once it's all settled with the right amount of weight, and then this is level, because doing concrete is only 50% about concrete, it's mostly about wood, because the most important thing about concrete is the formwork, not the actual concrete itself. Okay, so I'm going to be putting shims under here to get the whole thing level. So when I put the concrete on the top, all of the leading edge of this worktop is going to sag a bit, but I want it to. I want it to sag to the right level, and then I'm going to shim underneath. I'm going to shim in between the worktop and the leg on every single leg to get the whole thing horizontal. So you see, I've loaded up with bags of concrete those leading legs there, and what I'm doing is putting a level on top and putting shims underneath to get the whole thing horizontal. When I take the bags off, it will spring back to being pissed, but it doesn't matter. It's got to be right for when I do the for when I put the concrete on. Okay, so now I'm putting the shuttering on. This will form the underside of the concrete. So you see, sort of various bits stepping around like that, and underneath it's got these cut out sections here, up there, and here we've got to make sure that the screws don't come up so much that they'll come through the concrete. So you see, that's the height of the batten that's going to be used at the side. I know the concrete will come to that level, so it will cover the top of the screws. Okay, so I've marked out the edge on the shuttering. So this is temporary shuttering, and that's permanent shuttering. That's going to stay there, that's going to go. And I've marked the line on that, that's going to be the edge of the worktop. Pull it around the chamfer. I've never done this before, by the way, so I'm shitting it. But there's the line going all the way along, and that's going to be the edge of the worktop all the way along. Oh, I haven't drawn it there yet. Okay, so I'm just putting this bit of shuttering on. I've put the first bit on there. This bit here I'm going to put on here. Now you see the way I've done the shuttering on the bottom in several sections, and that means you can have steps in the concrete where the sections don't quite align. Right, you'll pick this up as you go along, but basically I'm going to put that there, and by having the two holes there, I'm going to clamp those together so they align, so it's going to minimise any step in the concrete at that point. This sort of thing I could say every single little knack that you learn as you go along, which will just take me for ages to make the video, but you'll pick it up as you go along. This is just what you learn doing carpentry. Okay, I'm shitting myself a bit because this is a day of the big pour. You see, I put the edge detail here to form the edge. That is temporary, that's temporary, that is permanent. I've put tape around these screws so I can get them out again afterwards, so the concrete doesn't grip them too much. You see how I've formed the corners to give a 45-degree angle here. Now this is my movement joint. This bit of wood tapers, so it's thicker at the top than it is at the bottom, so it's easy for me to pull it out. I don't need what you call a releasing agent. This bit of wood underneath is permanent, it will always be there. This bit of wood at the top I will remove once the concrete's gone off, so that's temporary, that's permanent. Okay, obviously all of this is temporary shuttering, that's permanent. Okay, so I'm nervous today because what we're going to do is, as soon as the water touches the concrete, we're on a production line. We've got to knock up all the concrete bag by bag. So look, here is the formwork for the sink that I'm just finishing off now. The sink's going to go there. What we've got in front of the sink, we've got a little thin bridge of concrete. We've got the ply underneath and the thin bridge of concrete, so I was a bit worried that could be a bit vulnerable if someone stands on it. So I've got myself a bit of, you see, a bit of studding here, and I've put some screws on for it to grip, and I've put a screw here that it's going to fasten around so it stays in position. Now that is because concrete is strong in compression and weak in tension. And so I'm just chucking that at the bottom. The concrete will go around it, and that will give it tensile strength at the bottom, because that is essentially going to be a beam, an in-situ beam that we cast there. And so that little bit of studding is going to give it tensile strength at the bottom where it needs it. Okay, so I've got that there. We go around the corner, there's a sink that I've left on the side there, I'll move that in a second. Here we've got the second movement joint. Movement joints are a bit of a pain to do, but it means that if I get one section wrong, I can replace that section without the whole thing getting broken out. I don't want the whole thing to be like a holistic, monolithic lump, because then if something goes wrong, the whole thing has to go. So here we've got the shuttering for the hob. Once again, I've got a bit of studding there just to strengthen that leading edge where the concrete could be a bit vulnerable. Okay, I've pushed the units, the cutouts for the sink and hob a bit far to the back, because I don't like it when people put things at the back. you know, because I'm going to have loads of shelves for that sort of stuff. And so if we go along with the shuttering is very difficult. The first bit of shuttering was really hard. I really lost heart yesterday. I was really worried, but then the other bits of shuttering became quite easy. What I did was I've run a bit of grip fill all the way along these corners, so because obviously if I left that gap there would be a sharp little knife edge of concrete that would seep in between those bits of wood. So I've put glue there just so that when the concrete casts, it's rounded, the edge is rounded. Here you see when the concrete casts against this, you're going to see the grain of the wood. I don't really care, but if you prefer, you might want to put some sort of masking tape or something there to give it a really ultra clean edge, but I don't mind it a bit rough. Okay, so all the screws that I'm going to take out, I've got the tape round. What we're going to do is we're going to knock up that concrete, 20 kilogram bags, one bag at a time. Each bag's going to have 150 grams of pigment and 150 grams of Pudlow for the waterproofing. So the pigment's going to make it black, and so yeah, the formwork. This is the scary time. It's already decided whether this is going to be a success or a failure, because if there's any problems in this formwork, if it starts to sag, if something falls off, if a bit of wood comes undone, we're totally fucked, because once you start knocking up the concrete, one person's going to knock up the concrete, then I'm going to drop it in, and then I'm going to drop it in, level it off with my leveler there, like that. I'm going to level it like that across, and I'm going to use a sander to vibrate the underside so any bubbles come out. So one person's going to knock up this concrete there. I'm going to put it in here, trowel it in bit by bit, work my way around. And so there's going to be one section, two sections, three sections of concrete. If it fails, well, there's no way back. As soon as the water touches the concrete, there's no way back. We've got to continue the production line till the whole thing's done. And so we've got to get everything prepared. It's got to be totally set up before the water touches the concrete. So this is the day of pressure. Okay, so right, so there won't be any more videos until this is done, because I can't be videoing it when I've got wet concrete. Okay, so wish me luck. Okay, this is me. I've troweled it. It seems to me as if you get the best finish when the concrete is quite dry, but when the concrete is very dry, it's hard to work. You've really got to put your elbow into it. When the concrete's wet, you get sort of slurry on the surface, which hopefully can be alright. I'm still going to carry on working it. I'm going to let it just set a little bit more, and then I'm going to carry on troweling it. There's a flooring trowel that I'm using. Okay, so it seems to be okay. It's really hard to get it dead smooth, but let's see how it goes. Oh, hi there. Well, good morning everyone. I carried on troweling it last night till I couldn't really see what I was doing, because we haven't got much lights here. And I came down this morning and this is how it looks, which is alright, I suppose. And I just troweled and troweled and troweled. I kept on troweling, and then at a certain point I thought, I know, I'll just run a brush over it just to give it a honed finish, which is why you've got this sort of matte finish. And there's a bit in the corner. Can you see the corner, the very corner over there? It looks a bit shiny. That's why I didn't reach with the brush. And so that's a sort of shinier finish. But with the shiny finish, you see every imperfection. You can just about see the movement joints underneath. As the concrete expands and contracts and the wood expands and contracts, the two little hairline cracks are going to emerge either side of that, and that's when I'll be able to just lift the movement joint out. Okay, you see, there's the other movement joint over there. So, right, well, yesterday was a bumper day. I've never ever done a concrete worktop before. I've got no previous experience of doing it, and so it looks fairly good. I'm pretty satisfied with it. Now I've got to strike the formwork, which will be the moment of truth. Hopefully not all of the concrete is settled here, so you'll see little fissures in the concrete where the aggregate creates little air pockets that I'm hoping to get around the leading edge. Hopefully they won't be sharp for the kids to hurt themselves on. But now what I'm going to do is, because with wet trades it's all about timing, so now I'm going to use some scourers and just gently go over and give it a little scoury finish, because obviously you can't do this when you've got like the slurry on top of the concrete. It's so much of it is about experience, and I don't have any, so lots of it reminded me of doing working with clay when I was at college. But now I'm going to strike the formwork. I'm going to use something to just take the leading edge off, so it's not really sharp that the kids could hit their heads on, and yeah, see how it looks in. But yeah, so I've got no previous experience of doing this, and so it's my first time. If I can do it, then yeah, maybe you can as well. Okay, so I've used this green scouring pad because now the concrete is what you call green, because concrete is pretty much a done deal how it's going to be now, but concrete will get harder and harder over the next 23 days, so still the concrete's quite delicate. And I've got this scouring pad and I've scoured just this side, and so you see I put the scouring pad at the join. That lot I haven't done yet, this lot I have, and you see the difference. So that I can feel the sort of slight waves on the surface, but you see here is different texture to here, so it does take it down a bit. It gives it a honed finish, not a sort of a glass type finish, but it still takes off some of the imperfections, which is good. So I'm going to use the scouring pad all the way round now, and then I'm going to start the formwork. Right, okay, moment of truth, just taking off this bit of formwork. Let's see how the edge is going to turn out. It's the last screw holding it up. So as I take that off, it's going to all drop on the floor. Do I care? No. Oh, it's not going to drop on the floor. What's holding it up? Anything holding it up underneath? Yeah, that bit of silly plasterboard. But still, you see that's a bloody sharp edge. I better take that down a bit. That someone could hurt their head on that. Oh, I've got nice fissures that I wanted here, where the concrete settles. You can put a sander onto the formwork to vibrate it so that all fills in, but I quite like it. Okay. Okay, could be a problem. Because I didn't vibrate it, the concrete hasn't gone right down to the edge. You've got this sort of porridgey edge. Now the architect in me loves it, the father in me doesn't. I'm thinking the kids might hit their head on that, it could be a bit sharp. So I'm just going to think of what to do. I need to put the formwork up and do some more, which would be a catastrophe, but we'll see how we go. Okay, not sure, let me go for breakfast and think about it. Okay, so this is how it looks. There's lots of fissures here which I really like, but I'm worried about kids knocking their head on it or stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is the black silicone that I'm going to use for the movement joint here. Look, there's the bit of the beading that I used to make the movement joint. So I can lift that out. But anyway, I'm going to get black silicone and I'm going to do the edge just to hold the edge together, make the bottom leading edge a bit rubbery, just so that if they hit their heads against it, it'll be alright, and so it won't just disintegrate over time. Okay, this is the concrete we used. It's Blue Circle high strength concrete. We ended up using 15 bags of that to do the work surface. So we used 15 bags of 20 kilogram Blue Circle high strength concrete. To make this work surface, I used Chemcraft Ultra Black. This is the pigment that made it look like slate. This is the waterproofer we used, Pudlow cement waterproofing powder. That comes in 8 kilogram bags. One 8 kilogram bag is easily enough, and 5 kilograms of that should easily be enough for your kitchen, depending on how much you want it. how dark you want it. And this is the sealer that I used, Feeler Fob. That's it's a sealer and it's food safe. Okay, so they're the chemicals that I used. But those two were in the concrete. That's applied after as a sealer. Okay, so here is the second batten that I've put down. So those two battens are in between the surface line. That's where all the plugs are going to go and all the taps and stuff. And so that's what I'm going to screw the splashback to. And so I've just ripped out these planks from plywood, and those planks make the splashback. And that's basically a service zone that I can just remove that from the wall and run any more plugs or taps and stuff that we want. That one there is where the sink's going to be. It lines up. You see I've got the joints lining. So that, if that gets all splashed and rubbish, I can paint it or remove it. And so each one is sacrificial and detachable. Okay, well, as a video on how to make the concrete worktop, this video is pretty much over. Where it went all porridgey at the bottom, what I've done is I've completely filled that with grip fill in the bottom, and I'm going to paint the leading edge black, so you'll still see the nice different texture where the stone settled in the tray. But I'm going to paint that black, the leading edge. What I'm doing now is I'm going to do cutouts for the splashback for the plugs. If you go on here, there's a cutout for the hob. I've got a separate panel by the hob just in case I want to have a different sort of thing there. Maybe I'll have that one metal just to make it easy to clean, the one by the hob. So you see the way the posts align with the unit. There's no accident. Okay, and then we come along. I'm going to put a shelf here. I'm going to put taps like this. These are very cheap industrial taps. They cost like £5 each. They're going to be at the leading edge of the downstand of the shelf. There's a panel that's going to conceal the water waste. The sink was a cheap sink from Screwfix, about £130, not a lot. I think generally the concrete for the worktop, the actual bags of concrete cost about £80. And so what I'm generally doing is I'm just using very cheap materials, but I'm really thinking about it before I do it, which is normally the opposite of what people do. They tend to sort of spend a lot of money on stuff. And the oven is in situ. Well, I've got to fix that oven into position. But right, it's good. We have a white oven. It's very hard to find a white oven. Anyway. Okay, these are the splashbacks that I'm going to put into position now. This is how the kitchen's looking right now. I had to do a cutaway for the hob that I hadn't anticipated. All these things that you try and design, but you can never anticipate everything. Every single day something's happened that we just didn't foresee at all, and that's with the kitchen that we've done before. These are the taps. They are industrial sort of taps. You've got to be quite sort of gentle with them because they really boom on. But they're very cheap. They cost like £5 each. £5 each. Those because the silicone sink in place. And so yeah, it's time to take shape. Okay, well this is the last video clip. I could carry on forever doing extra clips about the kitchen and everything and how to do it, but I'm going to be messing around with this kitchen for ages. I just want to wrap the video up, so I'll just tell you the main points because I did make some mistakes here. Look, you see it's not finished. I've got to all sort of sealing out and stuff like that, but I don't want this video thing to go on forever. I'm just going to say the main points of what I think I got wrong. First of all, one thing that I definitely got wrong was in the sequence of events I should have done all the finishes on the wall before doing the work surface, because when I did the work surface I was so eager to get that part out of the way, because I thought that's going to be the problem, that's going to be the difficult bit, that I just prioritised that totally. And it meant that once all the work surface was in and the legs, it meant that doing the wall finishes behind was a nightmare, because we had to sort of crawl around at the back of the work surface to do all the walls. So that was a mistake. So I would recommend always doing the wall finish first. And also another thing that I got wrong that you should be wary of is I put in this movement joint, this bit of wood, and the idea was that this actual bit of wood is tapering, and I should unscrew it and take it out, and I was going to put in black silicone. But when I did it and I smoothed the concrete over the top, the concrete went into the screw heads, and I just can't for the life of me get those screws out. But actually the timber looks not so bad. And so if you want to do the thing with the black silicone where you lift out the inlay, then put some sellotape or some sort of put some soap or anything, chewing gum or something in the, no, not chewing gum, but put something like putty or something in the top of the screw heads that you can get out afterwards, because if you put concrete in and it sets in the screw heads, you'll never be able to get them out unless you drill them out. And so that was a mistake that I did. So I would say be wary of that. But apart from that, I don't have any regrets about the colour or the pudlow or anything like that. And so if you want to try it, you've got any technical questions, just put an email in the comments below. But I'm fairly satisfied how it's all turned out, and I could wait for another 2 weeks till I get the whole thing totally finished and post a sort of pretty picture of it. But you're not interested in that. You want to know how to do the concrete thing, how to do a concrete work surface, and how it works with all the splashback and how the battens will work. And so I've shown that. So I hope that video's of interest, and good luck with your project.